Hi, I just filmed this video just now, and I should probably mention that there are spoilers for Loveless in this video. Okay, carry on. If you want to. If you don't, then go read the book and then come back so that the book's not spoiled for you. La 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 Okay, this is completely unrelated to this video, but I didn't mention it in my previous vlog, so I just want to point out the dress she's wearing today. £1 in a charity shop. £1 in a charity shop. Hi friends, it is Sam, and today I want to talk to you about ace representation, specifically literary ace representation. In the not so distant past, I reviewed a comic about asexuality, and today's video kind of goes along the same grain. However, we got some actual books today that I want to talk about. One fiction, one non-fiction. The fiction is Loveless by Oseman. This is about a girl who craves romance but can't seem to find it. And the non-fiction book is Ace, What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society and the Meaning of Sex by Chen. A factual book about asexuality. So I'm gonna dive right in. I am gonna start, I think, with the fiction book, Loveless, because I finished it first. Only a few hours before I finished this one, because I was reading them at the same time, but I technically finished this one first. So, we're gonna talk about it. I tabbed a lot of pages, as you can see. Also, I highlighted bits, which is so fun, but as one who doesn't like to ruin the spine, it was quite a challenge. So, like I said, this story is about a girl who craves romance but can't seem to find it. She has just gone to university in Durham with her two best friends. She thinks that university life has to be partying and getting with people and drinking, and she wants the full university experience. Although she doesn't like partying, she doesn't particularly like drinking, and she can't seem to fancy anyone. As you can tell from the tabs, I found this book so relatable. I tended to highlight anything that suggested the character's asexuality, some things that I related to, and some things that I appreciated being thrown in as an asexual person. Now, I'm not going to read up every single thing that I highlighted, but I'm gonna share a few snippets with you. One thing I appreciated being included in this book is a lot of the erasy things that people say to asexual people, such as, you know you'll find someone eventually, right? Everyone does. Or, so you have very high standards. I also love that Georgia, the main character, is super into fanfiction, and that she very strongly ships characters, and she's very passionate about fictional romance, because I completely see myself in that. I don't so much read fanfiction, I used to, but I 100% like to ship characters, and I like to read romance. So I really appreciated that, because there was the danger of Oseman writing a book about an asexual character who felt no connection to romance whatsoever, and a lot of the time that's not the case. I will read this segment. It is said by an allosexual character, a character who's not asexual, but it felt very asexual to me. So it was a nice irony to put in here that allosexual fundamentally can experience asexual experiences, and they just don't know it. I just enjoy having sex, she said. I'm single and I like sex, so I have sex. It's fun because it feels good. I don't feel a spark because it's not about romance. It's a casual physical thing. That just felt very Arrowace to me. Like I said, she's not Arrowace, but you don't need the attraction to enjoy physical intimacy. Another thing I like that this book points out is that there's very little ace representation in media. It's pointed out a lot in this book. I should have used a certain colour tab for the amount it was pointed out, but I didn't realise it would be pointed out that much. I'd hardly ever heard people use the word in real life, or even on TV or in movies. I figured it was something to do with not liking sex. See, here we have an asexual character who doesn't know what asexuality is because it's not represented in the media, and that is the main reason asexuality needs to be represented in the media, because then you don't get suffering like this from people who think they're broken or there's something wrong with them because they don't know the word for what they are. Page 196 to 197, I pretty much highlighted the whole segment because it's just a conversation between two asexual people about what asexuality means to them, and it felt very important because a lot of allo people probably picked this up and expected Georgia to fall in love. If they didn't know about asexuality and they came across these pages, that would actually mean the world to the ace community because it gets our label out there and it's educational. Another segment about it not being in the media. It's not in films, it's hardly ever in TV shows, and when it is, it's some tiny subplot that most people ignore. When it's talked about in the media, it gets trolled to hell and back. Even some queer people out there hate the very concept of being arrow or ace because they think it's unnatural or just fake. And of course, in a book exploring asexuality and its plot, sex needs to come up because, like the character said in one of these pages, a lot of people think asexuality has something to do with not liking sex, which is not the case. Sunil said he felt indifferent about sex. I'd never heard anyone talk about sex like that before. Like it was a takeaway cuisine you thought was okay but wouldn't personally choose it. It wasn't about bodies and genitals for me. It was about chemistry. But that wasn't anything unusual, I thought. People didn't really just look at boobs or abs and get turned on, did they? It turned out lots of asexual people still wanted to have sex for all sorts of different reasons, but some felt totally neutral about it and others, what I'd originally thought, literally despised it. Some asexual people still masturbated, others didn't have libidos at all. It also turned out that lots of aromantic people still wanted to be in romantic relationships, despite not feeling those feels. Others didn't ever want a romantic partner. And people identified as all sorts of combinations of romantic and sexual. There were gay asexuals, or bisexual aromantics, or straight asexuals, pansexual aromantics, and loads more. Some asexual and aromantic people didn't even like splitting up their attraction into two labels, and some just used the word queer to summarise everything. The asexual and aromantic spectrums weren't straight lines. It was just so informative and entertaining at the same time. Like, I absolutely loved the story. All the characters had their own personalities, they were very fleshed out. I loved Georgia's roommate, who actually kind of hinted towards being her queer platonic partner, which I absolutely love. Rooney, the roommate, she is an allosexual. She might end up in a relationship in the future, but she is still open to being Georgia's queer platonic partner, which I love very much because it just really pushes binaries and it really highlights how important friendships are and how they're just as important as any other relationship. Friends are automatically classed as less important than romantic partners. I'd never questioned that. It was just the way the world was. I guess I'd always felt that friendship just couldn't compete with what a partner offered. and that I'd never really experienced real love until I found romance. Give your friendships the magic you would give a romance, because they're just as important. That was what everything was about. The love in that hug, the knowing look between them. They had their own love story. That was what I wanted. I used to dream of a spellbinding, endless, forever romance, a beautiful story of meeting a person who could change your whole world. But now I realised friendship could be that too. And then comes my last post-it tab. I related to this so much because it's a speech I've given before. So this is Georgia talking to her roommate Rooney before they talk about being each other's person. The term queer platonic relationship / partner is not mentioned in this segment, but it is strongly suggested that this is what they're discussing. I just care about you so much, but I've always got this fear that one day you'll leave, or Pip and Jason will leave, or I don't know. I'm never going to fall in love, so my friendships are all I have. I just can't bear the idea of losing any of my friends, because I'm never going to have that one special person. And then, on the next page, right, Rooney says this. I realised that I love you, Georgia. Obviously, I'm not romantically in love with you, but I realised that whatever these feelings are for you, I feel like I am in love. Me and you, this is a love story. I feel like I've found something most people just don't get. I feel at home around you in a way I've never felt in my life. And maybe most people would look at us and think that we're just friends or whatever, but I know that it's just so much more than that. And before we get into this, I'm just gonna say something about it. It does point out that the term just friends is kind of insulting to friendships, but it just really highlighted how special Georgia and Rooney's relationship was. So I found that really cute. This book had me laughing out loud. It made me cry. It was just the most perfect ace representation we could have asked for. A romantic representation too. Obviously, this book is purely about asexuality, so asexual book review, but this is just as aromantic as it is asexual, arguably more so. And it's what the community needed. If it wasn't already obvious, this book is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely incroyable. It's explained in such a simple way that just makes you think, how could I not have understood asexuality before? Which brings us to What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. Again, we got a few tabby tabs. The pink ones are where I personally related, so it's not a massive amount. And the others are just things that I appreciated being in there. It's educational, but it's also helpful to aces who don't know where they fit on the spectrum, because it's got so many viewpoints packed in there. Even the first page, I highlighted a bunch of sentences. So I was pretty stoked to start reading this, and it started off so strong. I highlighted so much in the beginning. It contains little gems like sexual behaviour is under our control, while sexual attraction is not. It was always clear that a gay man or a straight woman could each have sex with women without that affecting who either is attracted to. Asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction, while celibacy is the lack of sexual behaviour. Like, thank you. I need that on a poster or a t-shirt. Maybe a t-shirt, and then just spend the day walking around and letting people read it, you know? It is possible to lack the experience of sexual attraction without being repulsed by sex. Just like it is possible to neither physically crave nor be disgusted by a food like crackers, but still enjoy eating them as part of a cherished social ritual. A person can feel physiological hunger, which would be like sex drive, without craving a specific dish, which would be more like sexual attraction. Another little nugget of wisdom. I would be asexual regardless of whether I'd have a high libido because it still would not be directed at a specific person. There is no specific person causing that libido. This book also dives into feminism, racism, and ableism, and I'm here for all of it because these are topics I feel passionate about. Asexuality is quite heavily tied into all these things. Take a disabled ace. They might come out to you as asexual. They might be comfortable enough to tell you they don't feel sexual attraction. And in your head, whether you say it or not, you might think, is that because you're disabled though? These groups, women, people of colour, and in the next chapter, disabled people, can find it very difficult to claim asexuality because it looks so much like the product of sexism, racism, ableism, and other forms of violence. Also, much like Loveless, this book points out how little representation there is in the media and how big of a problem it is for ace people who don't know the term, and for allo people who don't know the term and think we're making it up. If there was more ace representation, then I probably would have realised I was ace a lot sooner. This is part of the reason I hesitate when asked how many ace people exist. The most common statistic, taken from a 2004 study, is 1% of the population. Yet because there are so many misconceptions about what it means to not experience sexual attraction, and so few positive examples of aces in popular culture, I suspect the number may be much higher. Another bit that spoke to me: there should be freedom to not identify as ace if it doesn't serve you. Freedom to be ace and still be curious about sex. Freedom to identify as ace and then change your mind. For example, Lucid from the first chapter has begun identifying as demisexual after discovering that they do experience sexual attraction, albeit towards a single person. Lucid does not feel sexual attraction for anyone except their girlfriend, but that's enough for the shift and there should be no angst around the switch. I felt that on a personal level because we know I've struggled with my identity before now. You can be asexual if your disability caused your asexuality. You can be asexual if sexual trauma caused your asexuality. And you can be asexual if you lose your sexual desire later in life. You don't have to be part of the asexual community forever, but the lesson that a happy life for aces is possible regardless of origin is one that is important and one that includes you too. I also drew a little box around a challenge in this book, which is suggestions for books without romance, and a little checklist of things that aren't allowed to be included in books. And I thought that I'd make a little video about this challenge. Let me know if you think it's a good idea. I've written down 4 so far, and I'm sure I can find more, but it might help asexual people to compile a little list of books that don't include sex and romance, because it might make them feel a little more seen, or it might make them feel a little less bad about themselves when this like big romantic spark is in a book and they can't relate. So I thought it'd be a nice video to make. Let me know if you want that. As long as people don't know about asexuality, hell, forget about the label. So long as they don't know that saying no forever and for any reason in any context is okay, sex education, sex therapy, and popular depictions of sex are incomplete and people don't have the relevant information to fully consent. Aces say over and over that it is not morally correct to automatically privilege the preference of the person who wants sex. Yet it is so easy to unconsciously adopt an attitude of being a burden, of one's needs mattering less. So I'm going to be honest. Towards the end, the book started to drag. The language started off very simple and easy to understand, and as you delve deeper into the book it gets smarter and my brain couldn't cope, so it did kind of slow down for me towards the end. I mean, these are topics I'm very interested in, but also I'd like for them to be explained in simpler terms. However, as the book came to conclusion, we got quite a few little nuggets of wisdom that everyone needs to take away from either this video or this book or just life. There is more to do, both inside and outside the community. The ace community needs to be more welcoming to people of colour and disabled aces and anyone who does not have a gold star. Diversity of ace experience is a strength, and diversity of other types of experience and identity will only be more so. Reaching out to older aces and thinking more about issues that older aces might face is another way to enrich the community and the lives of people who may benefit. In the world at large, asexual in the biological term is still more well known. Aces need someone people already know and love, a celebrity, to champion the cause. Then activism can move beyond the basics of ACE 101 and toward the more ambitious projects of changing society to be better for all. Until then, many victories will be more personal. A little drink after all that reading. Ace, What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society and the Meaning of Sex was a very informative read. It kind of did the opposite for me that Loveless did. Loveless filled me with pride and acceptance of who I am, whereas this book encouraged me to further explore my label and be okay with it changing. My enjoyment kind of waned towards the end. So I would give this a solid 6 out of 10, I would say. But honestly, I loved hearing all the aces stories. Actually, towards the end, there was a story about someone called Anna, and I really enjoyed that. So it's kind of well laid out in that you've got people's experiences, smart stuff, people's experiences, smart stuff. So you get a little break between the like statistics and the facts. I would recommend to anyone who wants to learn more about asexuality and to anyone who wants to further explore their asexuality, because like I said, no one experience in this book is the same, and I feel like that's the same for every asexual out there. Those were some ace books that I got for my birthday, and I am very blessed to have read them. If there are any other ace books out there that you want me to read and review, please let me know, because I enjoyed making this very much. If you want to know more about asexuality, consider purchasing some books or check out the links in my description, because in every single video I make about asexuality, I leave sources in the description for you to explore and educate yourself with. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you next time with another video. Bye!